Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. Today's Game Changer Transformation features Rebecca Adelman, and Rebecca is from Memphis, Tennessee. She's a lawyer, she's got her own firm, and she tells us that Strategic Coach, but especially her community in Strategic Coach, has been what has made her really enjoy and transform her whole experience as a lawyer. You know, it's really striking how kind of courageous Rebecca's story is, because she became a lawyer when not many women became lawyers. But even rarer, she actually started her own firm. And she said, you know, it was a very male-dominated culture, and she found herself kind of alone. She couldn't join the boys' club. And she found that Strategic Coach really provided her with the type of community where she called it fellowship, but it was entrepreneurial fellowship. So it wasn't lawyers, it wasn't a local situation. It was from all over really the world, because our clients do come from many different countries. So one of the things that Rebecca really focused down in is how the support of the other entrepreneurs in her program, along with her coach, Chad Johnson, allows her to actually stand back and actually take a look at how she's running her firm. And of course, our whole model is that you should think in terms of 25 years. That breaks down to 100 quarters, and then there's just certain crucial jumps that you can make during every quarter. You don't have to change the world in 90 days, because in the Strategic Coach program, you get 100 90-day periods. And it's like compound interest. You make a change in one quarter, and then that compounds during all of the other following quarters. Rebecca puts a lot of emphasis on courage. She said that her courage capability has jumped a lot since she's been in coach, but you have to remember she came in with a lot. I always try to tell entrepreneurs that, yes, your life has changed, but you're someone who has been changing your life ever since you first became an entrepreneur. It's just that in coach, we provide you with a lot of thinking tools, and we really encourage that you surround yourself with all sorts of skilled people that we call who's, who do the hows that aren't your unique ability. So it's unique ability teamwork. The other thing, and Rebecca didn't actually say this, but when I have lawyers or other professionals like accountants and engineers, architects, dentists, doctors come in, the very education that you've gone through to be a professional puts enormous emphasis on you being a lone person, a lone operator, isolated, sort of a rugged individualist. And it's all about you taking the tests and qualifying. But once you get into the marketplace, once you get into the world, you have to flip the switch and you have to do just the opposite. And now it's about being a team member. And I think the most gratifying thing that I got from Rebecca's story, her transformation story, the biggest transformation that she's gone through is moving out from a lone operator as a lawyer to really being the center of a very powerful and growing team of specialists in different parts of law. And that's what makes her company increasingly successful, also allows her to focus on her unique ability to have great focus days, which also allows her to have a great personal life to go along with a very successful professional life. And it's all part of the piece when you come into coach. We're only interested in you growing through your freedoms, freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationship, freedom of purpose. And it's so delightful and very gratifying to me to hear about the enjoyment that Rebecca is having in the coach culture, especially with her fellowship of other entrepreneurs in her workshop that she comes back and sees every 90 days.
So my name is Rebecca Adelman. And my industry is the legal industry and also professional player representation. I've been with Strategic Coach now for 3 years, and it's been a game changer for me. I've been a lawyer for 30 years. And so when I first came into the legal industry, there were very few women who were in the industry. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I started out my entrepreneurial career when I was 4 years old. When I was 4 years old, I started a rock painting business. And the way this started, and if anyone listening has children, they will understand, they will come home with all sorts of paperweights that have been painted. Well, I came home with these paperweights that were painted, and I got this idea that I could sell these paperweights. And the way that I could really market and brand my paperweight company, my painting company, was to take my red wagon, fill it with stones with the initials of people that lived in my neighborhood. So that when my neighbors, the Newinghams, saw their initials N on a rock, they would feel compelled to buy it. Well, it worked. I retired from that business when I was 5, and I started a shoe shine business because my dad would pay me 25 cents to shine his shoes in the old-fashioned way. And I thought, well, gosh, if my dad wants his shoes shine, there are probably other people in the neighborhood who want their shoes shine. So I took my dad's very nicely polished shoes and I put them in my red wagon when I was 5, and I went around the neighborhood and I would pick up people's shoes. So I did that for another year, and then I retired because then I had to start school. But I have been an entrepreneur my whole life. So when I worked my way through undergraduate and graduate school and then into law school, I knew that I wanted to ultimately have my own law firm. And I ventured out onto a path. My office is in Memphis, Tennessee. I practice in the whole southeastern region, but that's where my office is. And I knew I wanted to run my own business someday. But I needed to get the experience and get the knowledge, and in a working environment where there were very few women. So I really had to kind of learn my way through that. So after several years working at a law firm, I opened up my own firm. And my experiences with being an entrepreneur in the legal field and kind of hanging the proverbial shingle out there was a challenge from day one. You know, what clients might come, am I going to make it? How do I even develop a business plan around this? There was a lot I still really had to learn. But I did it, and at the same time I became a parent, and I have a son, so I was raising my son all at the same time. So I had a lot going on in the early years of my professional career. I've had all sorts of obstacles that I've encountered along the way and seem to always manage. But being introduced to the coach program, to Strategic Coach, has really given me the tools and the courage to overcome so many of these kind of mental obstacles also that I have faced in my business. I implemented a lot of my own strategies in my firm and then in my other new business without really knowing that they probably had some kind of a framework around them, which is really what Coach offered. So I got to a point in my business where the idea of having a more professional platform to learn from so I could network with other entrepreneurs. Many of my obstacles, the origin of them was just this sense of feeling like I was by myself. You know, like either I was alone as a woman-owned business or I was alone as an entrepreneur starting a firm or an agency or whatever it may be. And I really kind of wanted to reach out for entrepreneurial fellowship. And I guess that's how I found Coach. And then I realized that there was a program where I could actually take all the knowledge I had, all the obstacles that I'd encountered or the challenges I was facing, and really be in a framework with other and in a fellowship with other entrepreneurs so I could do the things I wanted to do, which was reclaim my own life. That was probably number one, just to reclaim my life, because while I was owning my own business, the hours that I was working and the investment I was making my own personal self in the business, I was really just working for another boss as opposed to having a self-managed business. So that's when I realized I was getting way too overwhelmed and started to kind of reach out and see, like, what do other people do that are similarly situated to me, and found Coach. So my professional life has improved because I've been able to implement and learn new tools, time management tools, problem solving, ways to envision my future of my company. My professional life has improved and drastically transformed by learning these tools and then really implementing them with the mantra of it's really about my progress, it's not about perfection. So really like being okay with how I'm moving my company and knowing at any particular time I'm doing my very best. And then being with others who are doing their very best. On a personal level, my personal life has been transformed through Strategic Coach because I really have been able to reclaim my personal space. I've been able to reclaim those things in my life that are so valuable to me, like my time, my mental wellness, my relationships with my friends and my family. And, I've been able to kind of prioritize my self-care through the coach program, which is really important as a entrepreneur, and particularly a woman entrepreneur, because we have there are a lot of tendencies that women, we're typically a go-to for mentoring. We're a go-to for advice and mentoring, and we have different challenges that I think men in our industries face. So being able to kind of reclaim some space where I can prioritize myself has been probably the biggest personal transformation. So I think what I feel is that as a woman entrepreneur, as a woman-owned business, and as a mom, that it is my responsibility to, for example, I was so glad that you asked me to sit with you today because I feel like I want to be an ambassador for Strategic Coach so that other women who are on their own, who are from the smaller businesses to large businesses across the country, understand that there is a well-tested framework that we can all learn from each other, grow our businesses, grow ourselves personally, and really share that message. Because I think if many were like me, they don't know that a program like Strategic Coach exists, or there are other programs who are not nearly as sophisticated and as successful with outcomes as Strategic Coach. So I feel like, in our room, for example, in my program, in my team that I'm with, I think there are only 3 women in that group. And, I would love to see more women because we have other kinds of parts of the conversation that we can add to being entrepreneurs. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of be an ambassador for Strategic Coach in that way, to encourage women to reach out and join and be part of this movement to empower ourselves. And I think that has been another one of my, real transformative experiences, was just feeling empowered by the program. I think we live in a world that has a tendency to be very fear-based. We get afraid to reach out. We get afraid to get out of our comfort zone. We worry about having everything just so or perfect in order to make the next move. And that's kind of a female plight, I think you'll find that a lot of times men in their business world will just take the leap and learn later. I think we as women, always want to kind of have things in place before we want to really go out there, and we have some kind of underlying fears or insecurities. Strategic Coach has really been an opportunity for me to be the best version of myself and become more courageous. So if anyone's on the fence from a professional level, let your emotions and your heart drive a decision, because it has created for me just like a whole emotional array of my own internal support, and then the support from everyone else emotionally, like in the room. I'm always inspired afterwards. I always have new ideas, and I'm very creative. And from a professional standpoint, I have made so many excellent professional decisions, difficult ones and very easy ones that I just couldn't see since I've joined Coach. And so if you're really interested in growing your business, if you have that growth mindset and, have a business that is already successful, there is no doubt that by participating in Strategic Coach at whatever level will increase your chances of even greater success in all ways. So I'd like to add that. It's been just a great experience for me. I look forward to every quarterly meeting.
Telling a story like Rebecca Adelman's story, when we show this, people say, well, how did you end up with the culture that you have in Strategic Coach? And it's a great story because we just had our annual meeting yesterday of all the Coach team members from all over, basically about 8 time zones, from California to London, England. I was sitting in the room, and we had about 130 of our team members in. Not quite everybody, but the vast majority of our team members were there. And I said, it's pretty neat, how this has turned out. And I said, yeah, but it all goes back just to the teamwork that Babs and I have with each other. And that Babs, when she teamed up with me, she said, what we're going to do with you, Dan, because you have great money-making capabilities, is we're just going to free you up. And every time you start doing something that you're not good at, I'm going to think about how we get somebody else in to Strategic Coach to actually become a member of the team so that you can just focus on three things: that you're a good coach, the other thing is you come up with new ideas on a timely basis, and number three is that you're a good salesperson. You're very, very good at marketing, strategic coach. And so for 30 years, 2019 is the 30th year of the program, we've just always had two rules: that you never hire someone unless they're freeing up Babs and me, or they're freeing up the people who are freeing up Babs and me, and that's the only reason. And we just want them to work on their unique abilities. So when you have an entire culture where people just get rewarded for what they love doing most, what they're really great at, and they're freed up continually from everything they don't like, it becomes a very safe, very encouraging, very enthusiastic environment. So what Rebecca is actually experiencing is the strategic byproduct that you get when all of your focus at the center of your culture is just on having people do what they love most and collaborate with other people who are doing what they love most. And that's the secret of having a self-managing company. So just to wrap our great interview with Rebecca here, the best book to go to right now, and this is a hot idea from a strategic coach, is Who, Not How. And this completely explains how you grow a culture like the strategic coach culture. So go to whonothow.coach.